In the 2nd century BC, when Ajanta Monastery was started, Buddhism was flourishing throughout India. Over the next few centuries, the monastery thrived. In that time, monks were able to carve 27 temples by hand out of the solid rock cliff. Each one of these caves was filled with fantastic paintings and carvings. It's really impossible to imagine how beautiful this monastery is, or how sacred it would have been after 900 years of meditation. No one even knew of Ajanta for over 1,000 years until a British hunting party discovered it in the mid-19th century. Now imagine, this place was occupied for 900 years continuously by monks living, chanting, and working here. And then there was nothing. It was totally lost and forgotten. No one even knew it existed. You cannot imagine the feeling of wandering around this magnificent cave with all the beautiful carvings. In the center of this one was a large stupa. A stupa is a round domed monument with a little peak on top. Originally, the Buddha said not to worship images of him, so they only used stupas in the temples. This one was in the mid-period when the Buddhist image began to be prevalent and the stupas started to fade from view. So it's got a combination stupa and Buddha in the center. Ellora has over 34 monastery caves. It was created originally by the Buddhists, and then as Buddhism went into decline, the Hindus and Jains also built temples. Here you see Mount Kailash, the Hindu temple. They estimate that it took 200 monks 150 years to finish it. In Ellora, you can see the changing times. For 200 years, the Buddhist monasteries existed here with the Hindu monasteries, from about 600 to 800 AD. Then with the decline of Buddhism, it was the Jains and Hindus for another 100 years. And then after that, it was only the Jains. They lasted till about 1000 AD. Then the monasteries were abandoned. For over a millennia now, all of the sacred statues and royal halls have been emptied. It kind of makes me wonder what monuments will be left by our culture to see in 1,000 years. Will our great cities be abandoned? And who will be looking to see what we left behind? And what will they think about us? As I walk through these dusty halls, I try to imagine what it was like to live here. These were great spiritual centers of learning. Tens of thousands of monks were living here, meditating, chanting, and studying the scriptures for centuries. It must have been a golden era. And now, it's just lost in time. I wonder where in the world can we find such a place today, or if one even exists. The other interesting thing about these monasteries is because they are carved out of solid rock, the proportions had to be perfect the first time. There was no room for error. It all had to be calculated mathematically with such precision that every room would work out to have symmetry and every space would be well balanced. This is something you could not imagine doing if you were a builder today. A lot of people don't realize that art such as this can't even be created today. In the old times, an artisan would begin training with a master at birth, and he would spend his whole life working on perfecting his skills, and as an old man he would complete works of art like this. In today's fast-paced society, we don't really have time to train, and we don't have an environment that would allow us to develop these skills. So some of the things you see here can never be seen again in our times. Wandering around these ruins now, we see only cold stone statues where once a great religion was alive. It all started about 2,500 years before we were born. There was this young prince named Siddhartha. He was sheltered from the real world by his father the king, but as fate would have it, one day he ventured out of the palace and discovered the tragedy of human suffering. Being a compassionate soul, he decided to abandon his princely life and seek the means to free humanity from this burden. After many years of meditation in the forest, the key to enlightenment came to him as the middle path. It was a life of balance between positive and negative, good and evil, light and dark. He discovered that suffering came from attachment and taught the means to find freedom from this attachment through the middle path. He traveled far and wide to share this teaching, and after a while, he became known as the Buddha.